Good evening, everybody. And tonight we'll have tonight's show is going to be politics. But before we get started, my name is Joya Cephas, and again, tonight's show is going to be about politics. But I want to thank everybody who called, who made comments about the last show about trade and people starting their own business. And we're going to do another show, a continuation. We have a lot of responses, and it was very good and very proud. But again, tonight's show was dedicated to my sister Beverly, who's sick, and hope she makes a speedy recovery. But tonight's show is going to be about politics. We have three politicians tonight, and we have this young man here has been the top of the state Senate, and again, his name is Senator McDowell. I'd like you to introduce yourself and tell everybody a little background on you, how long you've been a senator and everything, and because his resume is off the chart, and he's done some very, very serious, impactful things. We don't always agree, but like he told me, if friends can't disagree, they're not friends. And I consider him a friend, but I'll let him introduce himself, and let him tell you some of the things about yourself.
Thanks, Joyce. I'll get back to your questions here in a minute. I'll just say I am Harris McDowell, Harris B. McDowell III. And I've come from a family that's been in politics for a long time. My father was a long-term congressman from Delaware. But I've been serving longer than anybody in the history of Delaware, in the Delaware General Assembly, in the Delaware State Senate. And it's been quite a run. If you had told me when I first was elected in 1976 that I would stay this long, I would say you're crazy. But I'm an activist at heart, Julius, and that tells you more about my resume and what I do and what I've done than anything. So I always have a load of things to do that don't get done right away. I'll give you, for instance, one of my really huge undertaking this year was to rewrite the criminal code, make it much more easy for people to understand, both those who are accused of crime and those who are not, and make it so it works much better. It's a system that has grown over the years to enormous, something like 800 pages of legalese, and it's very hard to understand. In some places, it's contradictory in some places, and all that. So we set out to reform it, and we're going to. Now, it's not a reform in substance. We're not trying to change the things. I've done legislation before to change things that we think shouldn't be done the way they're done. This is just to try to get it streamlined and much more workable. And we spent the whole year working at it this year. We produced the research necessary. We produced bills that are 250 pages of legislation. And so we didn't quite finish it this year, but we'll come back next year and get it done.
Let me get first thing. Let me say this. Most people, you're the state senator for District 1.
Right.
Okay, that's number one. I just want to read some of your, you was a majority whip from 81 to 82, from 87 to 88, from 91 to 93, from 1997 to 1999. You was a majority leader 2003, 2006. And now you are on chairman of the Joint Finance. Talk about the chairman of the Joint Finance and what does it do? Well, how does it function?
Well, the Finance Committee is a joint committee of House and Senate, and that committee writes the state budget. Everything the state is going to do next year has to be funded through that budget. This year, it's a $4.4 approximately billion budget. There are an awful lot of line items. There are line items as small as $5,000 and some bigger. We have $2 billion payroll, state employees and teachers and school employees. And so it's a very, very big undertaking to get that done. We've had good years and we've had bad years, and we've always managed to come up with a balanced budget. In my 42 years of service, we have never had an unbalanced budget.
Okay. Now, one of the things I want to know, what are you most proud of? But before I get there, that's also what I want people to understand is one of your bills that you passed with the C, is it C,
See,
where Delaware Tech, if you have a 2.0 or something like that, you go to Delaware Tech for free. Just, I'll let you explain it. I don't want to mess it up.
yeah, it's this program that I worked on for 10 years before I got it done. That's one of the things I want to mention, the pipeline that keeps me active. I fought for that program for 10 years, and we finally got it done with the help of Governor Minner, who came up with a very good idea of how to make a compromise. The Republicans had always wanted to try to make it be only for those high achievers. Mm-hmm. And I said, no, the purpose of the plan is to let everybody go to school. So that's what we do. Now, all you have to do is get the qualifying graduation grades to graduate from your high school and meet the either University of Delaware or Del State standards for admission, and you can get in. That's generally a 2-point average. So any kid that goes in, they will pay 2 years, no more questions asked. After that 2-year period, we don't pay, but if a kid graduates from that program in Del Tech, they're automatically admitted to, if they can afford to go, to the junior year at the University of Delaware.
That's good. Now, also, the state workers, talk about the bonus the state workers got, and also I want you to talk about renewable energy and prescription opium impact fund, because that is a major problem in our state, our country, really.
Yeah, the impact fund was designed by a couple of my colleagues in the House. I was I believe, co-sponsor in the Senate, and the idea is that a very tiny fee on opioid subscriptions would be taken to build a fund to have treatment programs. Now, we've already started treatment programs, and we've front-loaded with, I'm not sure the exact amount, but I think we've got somewhere near $2 million to front-load the programs just to get them started. But this small fee, and it's just pennies, on a prescription would pay about $9 million a year for treatment programs. We know that there are so many people that are desperate for treatment, and they come from all walks of life. They're people who maybe they had a problem through an accident or something, or an operation. They had pain. They had to take this very good painkiller, but then it hooks. The
problem is too damn good. You know what I mean? It's too good. But I think that's great, because I had a senator, what's her name on here? She was talking about it, Hanson.
Yes.
I had her on here, and she's going to come back now, because treatment is always better than prison.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what about? And I think that's great. Now, what about the state workers and the bonus?
Well, I'll do that quickly. I want to come back to the other thing about, because we've had a great year for jobs creation and
go ahead, talk about it,
and for changing. But so just quickly, the money we put up $1,000 for every state employee. We added another $500 bonus to that. That's just a one-time, and that's $1,500 for state employees. When you take and you add that up, at the lower end, it's a pretty good percentage raise. At the higher end, it's not so good. But we felt that we've been lagging behind for quite a long time. I felt very strongly that and so did the governor, Governor Carney, that we should reward a little bit better the people at the lower end. So that's how we did that. And I think it's working. It's been very well accepted. We also added a $500 one-time bonus for retirees, which we had not been able to do for a very long time.
Money is due. Now let me ask you this, because again, talk to me about some of the things that you're most proud of? Because again, you have the Republicans, and it's so close, 11 to 10 or whatever. Talk to me about some of your things that you're most proud of as a state senator.
Well, if I look backward a little bit, it's hard. There's a lot of things, but you mentioned the SEED program, and I'm very proud of that. As I said, it took me 10 years to get it passed. I had to fight to get that done, and we are now sending over 1,000 kids every year to Del Tech to go to college. And what I like to say about that is we're able to say to children and their families, you can go to college. It's not a promise, it's the law. And kids in low-income families, they know what that difference means, that it's in the law. It can't be taken away from them. Okay. So all they have to do is do their part, get the right grades to graduate from high school, and they don't have to get high marks, just the same qualification that the institution has. So Del Tech has a 2-point average requirement for admittance into their programs, their academic programs. Yeah. That gets them into Del Tech.
And a lot of times, what people don't know, what I know, is that Del Tech's nursing program is one of the top programs in the state.
It is.
And on the East Coast.
It is.
And I know my wife was a nurse, and she was a nurse practitioner, she got a doctor's, but people don't sleep on Del Tech's nursing program.
Yeah.
And other programs, they got a good trade program too. But I just don't want people to sleep on Del Tech and their programs, and the most important part, for free.
Yeah, it is free. First 2 years are free. So, and I've had people say, well, my kid wants to go to North Carolina State, let's say, and they say, well, let them go there after the first 2 years. Yeah. Get the first 2 years free, and then they can go to University of Delaware, Del State, North Carolina State, Utah. I don't care. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. Now, what are some of your goals for next year? I mean, because again, one of the things we didn't talk about, because the state had a surplus, so you probably had everybody calling your phone and everybody else, politician. When people think you got extra, so how did that work out?
Well, it worked out really well. What we did is we took the responsibility to be responsible budgeters, and not just eat up all that money that had come in this year. There were a number of things that made it come higher. There was the federal tax cut that put so much more money in the hands of the wealthy, and that made them having to pay higher taxes to the state. Also, money came in for corporations because they had been keeping money offshore. They had $5 trillion offshore. So then when they figured they could get a lower tax on it, they brought it back. Okay. And that then got taxed at the state level. So that's not going to keep us. So we were able to budget in a way that we've maintained. We increased the 98% requirement to restrict spending to, 2%. We increased to 3%. So those two things together left in the reserve somewhere around $134 million that we did not spend. In addition to that, there's another $40 million that we spent in one-times, and they don't count into the next year's budget because they're one-times. In addition to that, we put $188 million cash to the bond bill. What that does is going to create a lot more jobs. That money can be spent on all those things. Public schools, there's 2 huge public schools downstate going to be funded by the bond money. That's and that's helped out by the cash to the bond bill. Cash to the bond bill also is able to go to non-governmental entities that such as Boys and Girls Clubs or things like that get funds. So we've put more money into the private sector that are covering things, and we have money left over, so we're going to have a good year next year too. I think we really wanted to demonstrate we've been budgeting very carefully and very responsibly for years, and we really proved it this year. I kept my promise to get the budget up early. It was up 2.5 weeks before the end of session, available for the public to read. That's earlier than it's ever been. We passed it well before the bewitching hour of midnight on the last day. And we put, as I said, those reserve things in place to make sure that we were being responsible. Yet, at the same time, we put more money in almost everything. There's almost $28 million more in education. I put $3.2 million for reading specialists. This is something I'm really proud of. We know that the ability to read is one of the big stumbling blocks for kids. And what we're going to do is put reading trained specialists, first grade, and find those kids that are getting behind right away. And we're going to work on them with their reading skills so that, because by the time you get to fourth grade, kids have to read to learn. And so if we let these kids flounder through first, second, and third grade, not really getting on to reading the way they should, then we're doing them a disservice.
Right. I would hope that some of this funding gets down to people like, I was watching today, Bernice, her workshop over there at the neighborhood house, I believe over South Bridge, who does great work with the kids. You have a lot of small little entities that do great work with less. And I would hope, again, I was listening to her, what she's teaching the kids, I think is wonderful. And you have a lot more that are wonderful, doing great things, and I hope that they would get a chance to participate to help. And I'm not finished with you yet, but also, we have the sheriff coming on, and we have Gundy Jacobs coming on to talk about his elections. So I just want people to know that they're coming, so they're coming. So, but again, I just hope people like Bernice and other people who are doing great projects get a chance to help and to participate. But one thing I want to ask you is this: is there any else something that you want to let the viewers know that they don't know?
Well, it's a pretty smart group out there, Julius. I don't know that I can think of something they don't know.
No. I'm talking about no. You missed me. Anything that you want the viewing audience to know? Anything you want to say to the viewing audience? Because pretty soon we're going to be wrapping up. Is there anything that you want them to know that they don't know?
Yeah,
or anything else still in your mind? Put it that way.
Well, I do. I mean, I'm going to reference. My family's been involved in progressive politics for a very long time backward. My sister started the ACLU in Delaware, and my father, as I told you, was a congressman and liberal Democrat. And one of the things that I think I'm very, very concerned about right now, this is not at the state level, fortunately, but it's manifests itself at the federal level, but the willingness of some politicians to use race and race baiting and to try to stir up latent prejudice to their advantage. And
you want me to say his name, Trump? I'm sorry.
Well, it's very disturbing, and even to carry it to the extreme that he has, where he's favoring white supremacists and things like that, and encouraging people to be prejudicial, is just very disturbing. I thought we had grown beyond that as a people, and I think it's time for people to stand up and really take a stand. We're tolerant people, but we're not going to tolerate intolerance. And so that's on my mind.
Okay. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you heard it from Senator McDowell, the longest sitting senator, and who's got a lot of things done, who's not finished. And he will be back again coming up to finish talking about some things he's going to do. And like I said, again, I just want to say we appreciate you. And like I said, and y'all don't know, we have breakfast and lunch, and we have some heavy, hot discussions. Yeah. And again, and we go at it. Yeah. But it's healthy, and if you can't have a disagreement, they're not your friends. So again, but he's doing an excellent job, and again, we'll want to see you back.
But you got me at a disadvantage this time. I got a little bit of laryngitis, so I'm
That's
not
all that
screaming,
hard work.
But you know, by the way, you know who I'm going to go see? B.B. Coker's daughter.
Okay.
You know her. Your mom knew B.B. Coker.
Yeah. Doctor.
And Dr. Coker.
Yeah, Dr. Coker. Yeah.
She's in that field, eye, ears, nose, and whatever.
Okay. All right.
So I think I better go see her.
That's good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to come back with the sheriff, and then we're going to come back with Gundy Jacobs. All right, we're back again, and I have right now the former chief of police. He's the sheriff now. This young man has a resume. We don't get too much into everything because we have 4 or 5 shows, but he's the sheriff, and he's a former chief of police. And he's running for re-election in September the 6th, I believe it is. But I just want you to give us a quick background on your resume, and I got some questions for you.
All right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me on this evening.
And tell about who you are.
Yeah, I'm Sam Pratcher. Sam Pratcher, and I'm currently the sheriff of Newcastle County. Governor Jack Markell appointed me as sheriff of Newcastle County in December of 2016. I felt very honored to be appointed because of all the people that he could have appointed. He appointed me, and I believe that appointment was made based on my past public service here in Wilmington. I had 27 years on the Wilmington Police Department. I held every rank within the police department, starting with police recruit all the way up to and including chief of police. The last 4 years of my tenure in the police department was spent as chief of police. Now, during that time when I was on the Wilmington Police Department, I took an opportunity to go back to school. I have a degree in criminal justice administration, a BS degree. I have a master's degree in human resource management as well. And I'm no stranger to hard work. I worked hard for what I achieved. Nobody's ever given me anything. I also spent time with the city of Wilmington as its deputy director of human resources, and I spent 1 year as the director of human resources for the city of Wilmington. So that background gives me a lot of experience which I can utilize in the position that I have today.
Let me just real quickly, because Sam, or the sheriff, is a modest guy, very modest. He also was in the Air Force. I believe he was shot down, and he saved a lot of troops. I think he have a Purple Heart and what's the other one?
Silver Star.
A Silver Star. I mean, this guy's done great things. His son's a top lawyer in Delaware, and again, but he's very modest, and I just wanted to throw that out there. Okay.
Yes. If we go back to Vietnam, I was in the Air Force. I was a gunner in Vietnam, and I was shot down. And as a result of being shot down, before we were rescued, I was able to get out a lot of other troops before I was airlifted out.
Okay.
And that as a result of those actions, I did receive the Silver Star for gallantry in action and the Purple Heart for injuries sustained during combat operations.
So let me say this again too, and you are, like you said, hard work is no problem. It's been proven, and you follow orders, you give orders, and you do a great job. But the sheriff is a different. It's not law enforcement, even though the title name is law enforcement. What do the sheriff do, and how? The second question is, how do you plan to improve what you've already done?
Okay. Well, first of all, I could segregate the duties and responsibilities of the sheriff into 2 distinct categories. Number one is the facilitation of property sales. That's foreclosures, goods, and chattel. And the other is service of processes, that being subpoenas and other court documents as directed by the courts, be it Superior Court, Court of Common Pleas, Chancery Court, even out-of-state courts as well. We serve different processes for the courts. What I would like to do is to have the office a little more proactive, and one of the things that I've seen since I've been there is the number of foreclosures. Although it's not a primary duty of the office, but I would like to see us be involved in creating workshops so that the public has more information about that process, so that people will know what to do if they are ever in a position where they're about to lose their home. A lot of people don't know that there is mandatory mediation in the state of Delaware, that before the house can be foreclosed on, they're offered mandatory mediation. Now, a lot of people don't participate in that process. Although it's mandatory, some people utilize it as to buy a little time. But when people actually participate, they have a 62% chance of saving their house from foreclosure.
Okay. And let me ask, because I've talked to some people and I told them that you was coming on, and one of the things, everybody doesn't have a computer. Everybody's not very good at it. What they asked was, is there any way that the county can talk to the city council and the county council to maybe have a program on 28 or have some type of workshop or something where it can help? Because again, everybody, they always say, well, get .6 and this, that, get on the computer, go online. Everybody's not savvy that way. What about the people at some of these places that are not computer savvy? They need a little bit more attention. Is there anything that in the future where you can help them?
Well, right now there are workshops that are being conducted by the Attorney General's office in conjunction with certified public housing counselors. I don't intend to recreate anything, but I want to be an advocate
Right.
to participate along with the Attorney General's office and certified housing counselors in doing what they do in order to inform the public of this process. And those are not, they're not online workshops. These are actual physical workshops that they perform in different areas. I just want to be a part of that so I can make sure that people are getting the right information.
Well, what I'm hearing out there in the community, that you're trying to help people, you're doing good things. And again, for a minute, because I know time is short, you've done such an outstanding job. You have a son who's a lawyer, and that speaks volume on you. Talk about that for a minute.
Well, my son,
handsome young fella too.
Well, thank you very much.
Must look like his mother.
Well, as he was a young man, young African American man, you have certain things that you have to realize. Right. And one of the things that I tried to tell him is that if he ever should encounter the police, even though I had a law enforcement background, I had many friends who were law enforcement officers, that you have to comply on the street. Now, as a very young child, he had decided that he wanted to be an attorney, and he spent a lot of time before he got to college, making sure that he did the things that he thought he needed to do to become an attorney. Every decision he ever made, I taught him to, run it by me and said, you don't have to experience everything.
Right.
You can rely on the experiences of your elders, right. Your father, your mother.
One thing that you said, I watched you on show last week, and it was, I think every person should hear that. And again, even though you're not in the police department now, and I just love the show when you was on. Tell people again that when they encounter the police, what they should do. I just thought that answer you gave was awesome, and I just want this viewing audience to hear the way you said it. If you could, last week, just say it again.
Okay, the question was, what do you do when you encounter the police? I wasn't always a police officer, so I had encounters with the police before I joined the force. And one of the things, what I said last week is that when you encounter the police on the street, you have to comply, or at least you should comply, because it's a no-win situation. You cannot win on the street. Even if you're right. If you resist, you're going to be arrested, and then you have that mark against you. But when you comply, if there's something that the officer did wrong, you have recourse. You can go to internal affairs. If you don't like what internal affairs tells you, you can go to the court. You can obtain the services of an attorney. But you can't win on the street.
Yeah. And I appreciate this so much, because sometimes we let our attitude and our ego, and I tell anybody, anytime I react, I've always been in trouble. But when you walk away and get a chance to think about it, and as a former union president, I would tell people, man, I ain't got to do this. The boss tell you to do something, work and grieve.
Exactly.
Work and grieve, because if you get caught with insubordination, you could end up losing your job. If you have an issue, okay, just tell them, okay, grieve it, and let's deal with it. If you lose time, whatever, we can get it back. But I just thought that was what today's thing it was needed. It was very good. And again, I just want, everybody, the election is going to be on September the 6th. This is a great, great man. And before we close, is there anything you want to say? He will be back, but is there anything you want to say before we wrap up?
Well, as you said, the election is on September the 6th. It was a Thursday this year. Obviously, in prior elections, the primary has been on a Tuesday. So I would encourage everybody to come out and vote. We need support. So we want you to come out and vote on September the 6th.
All right, everybody, again, and he will be back, Sam Pratchett, who's done great things for our country, for our city, and for our state. He's been a great, great server. And again, I'd like to go to our next guest. For September the 6th, come vote for Sam Pratchett for sheriff. Okay, we're back, and we're back with Mr. Ugundi Jacobs. And I want, first thing, I've known this young man for a long time. Again, his father used to help raise me and call me Kulalu. But we're here on a serious matter. And first I want you to introduce yourself, and then I'll come back with a question. But go ahead and introduce yourself and all that.
Good evening, viewing audience. My name is Ugundi Jacobs Sr., and I'll be running for 2nd District candidate in the House of Representatives this year.
Okay. Now, first thing I want to know is, well, let me just say this first. Congratulations on your award, your humanitarian award. That was, what, the other night?
Yes, last night.
Last night. I just want to say, personally, I'm pissed off because I should have won. But no. But seriously, no, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay, but what made you want to run for this position, and why?
Well, for those who may not know, back in 2012, that was my first time running for public office. I came in 2nd place running for 3rd District City Council at that time. And what I learned at that time moving forward is people in the 2nd District for the House of Representatives, they lack representation on the issues that matter most to them. That was the #1 reason that made me decide to enter the race this year. Their voices aren't heard. Their issues are pushed to the wayside. The representation is not present nor active. So living in the community, I'm stopped on a regular basis because I have a honorable role as executive director at William X. Anderson Community Center, where we impact lives on a day in and day out basis. And a lot of parents ask me, what are your thoughts on representing us either as the city, as a city official, or a state representative official? So because this is a midterm election, I thought it would be a great idea based on the support through the conversations I received throughout the community to enter my name in this year's election.
Okay. Now, what do you think? First thing, let me just say this to your opponent. You will have an opportunity to come on and discuss and dispute or whatever and put your point of view across. I just want to say that right now. But what is she not doing that you think you can do? Some of the things.
Well,
as an example.
I'm challenging a long-time legislator by the way of Ms. Stephanie Bowden. Some folks need to know and would like to know who's your opponent, who you're running against. But I know right now in the 2nd District, we have 2 schools that closed in our district. And we have not heard not one word from a retired educator on having these schools open to serve the population in our neighborhoods. Dealing with young boys and girls each day, I see the concerns and issues that they're faced with. And education is key. And having 2 schools closed in your district says a lot. Says a lot that you're not getting the necessary representation in Dover. And I'm looking forward to making change for that.
Okay. Now, what schools you say are closed or are closing?
Well, a few years ago, Moyer Academy closed. Just last year, Prestige Academy closed.
Okay.
Now, we haven't heard anyone in the district, specifically the incumbent, speak on these issues, to mobilize residents, to mobilize parents, to bring awareness as to why these schools are closing.
Okay. One of the things I would love to see, and because we did a show last month, and again, it was one of my best shows, not because of what I've done, it was because what the people were doing as far as the trade. And I would love to see where some of these properties and stuff, these warehouses, have carpentry, welding, and things like that. What's your view on that?
Well, although I graduated from college, everyone does not want to go to college. I understand the importance of entrepreneurship, of learning a trade and a skill that you can take care of yourself forever without having a supervisor to micromanage you or to, babysit your skills. So the 2nd District has tons of opportunity for development, for expansion, for learning new skills and trades that has been underserviced for quite some time.
Yeah, because it's very, and I see the work that you do. You know, I go to West Center City almost every day. And
Thank you for coming too. The kids really enjoy you.
I appreciate it, and I get more out of it than they get out of it. But you know, it's important.
Yes.
It's very important to participate.
Yes.
And be involved, because we're getting hammered.
On all levels.
We're getting hammered, and
Yes.
again, so what else do you want to do to try to bring what you're trying to bring to the 2nd District?
Well, I'm an example of being able to overcome trials and tribulations on life. A lot of times people make mistakes early often, and they're never given the opportunity to have a second chance at life and being a productive citizen. I've been blessed and fortunate to have that opportunity. So every day I arise, through the grace of God, I make it my business to make sure that I'm serving as an example of hope and encouragement, so that others who have had similar backgrounds know that there's other opportunities that they could do different things than what they've done in the past.
Okay. Now, you went back to school. What did you get when you went back to school?
Well, actually, let me share this with you. What made me go back to school was I was on the board of directors for Habitat for Humanity. And I would sit at the table, at the conference table during our board meetings, and some of the conversation was deep, but it impacted lives tremendously. So there was some information that I know I needed to have in my toolbox to further my staying power at that table. So I returned back to school, Wilmington University. I first received my bachelor's degree in organizational management and political science, but that wasn't enough because I applied for the William Hicks Anderson Community Center job and I was denied twice. So I said, okay,
Why was you denied?
Well, one, I guess I wasn't qualified on paper.
Right.
So therefore I returned to get my master's degree. And I was on the dean's list and received my master's degree in administration of human services.
That's heavy, and it shows serious determination. And
Yes.
you need to be, that's great.
Yes.
And
Yes.
again, also too.
But I must say this, people don't care what you know as long as they know that you care. And a lot of folks have a lot of degrees, but in office, being an elected office, you need to utilize common sense.
Yeah. You know what's crazy, Ray Evans? I don't know. A lot of the older politicians didn't have degrees, but they cared, and they got a lot of things. My mother, they cared,
Yes.
and they participated,
Right.
and got a lot of things done.
Right.
I mean, and it's great stuff. But again, can you show everybody my award? That should be my award.
Yes. I do have to say, I was the top vote getter in this category. This is from the Hope Center.
Okay.
This is their first annual humanitarian awards banquet last night. I received this award for a citizen, 2018. So I want to say thank everyone out there in the viewing audience who voted for me. This award of recognition does not go lightly. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for voting for me.
Now, also too, I did win an award at West Center City. I won the community. What's it called?
Yes, the Community Service Award.
Yeah. I won the community service at West Center City.
Because you let them young boys beat up on you on the ping pong table all day.
Ain't nobody beating up on me. I don't care. But we have a lot of fun over there, and we do a lot of great things. You are excellent director.
I appreciate that.
You're an excellent director, and
I appreciate
A
that.
lot of times in this game, you got to have hard skin because you're never going to get the credit that you deserve, or anybody in that matter.
Yeah.
So, but I know what you do over there because I'm there.
Yeah.
And
you see, we're dealing with probably the most challenging population in the entire city.
yes, you are. But the good thing is you're getting good results, and I see a lot of kids who are misdirected turn around because of that. And again, and I want to say this, your opponent will have the opportunity to come on here and bring her sign and talk and explain, whatever she wants to explain. I'm going to give her that opportunity.
Can we have a debate?
Hey.
I mean, you mentioned it. I'm just saying.
Let me talk. Let me make a phone call. But again, is there any else?
Hold on. I have to ask this. Is a debate necessary?
I never mentioned a debate.
Okay.
I just said
wanted
she
to
can.
know.
I just said she can come on here and give her opportunity to talk. But is there anything else that you want the viewing audience to know before we sign off?
Yes. I would like to ask for your vote, your support on Thursday, September the 6th, as I enter the race for state representative in the 2nd District. And I'm looking forward to bring some energy, some active listening skills, and some results back to the community.
That's very good, ladies and gentlemen. And again, this is the election season. I want to thank all my guests today for coming on, and definitely thank you and all the guests that coming on. Also, once the political season is over, we're going to get back to some of our shows. And one of the shows I want to get to is light skin, dark skin. And I seen some stuff, and let me say this.
So what are you?
Let me finish now. I'm the host. But we're going to have some good shows, but he's telling me to wrap up, but we're definitely going to do these shows. But again, I want to thank everybody. And Mr. Jacob, thank you again. And I need you to return my award. But good night, everybody. And see you the third Sunday next month. Thank you.